What's going on, guys and girls? Here once again, this is Angry Role Player here, and today I want to present you this sketch VIP build for Toxic Rain Herald of Agony Pathfinder that I'm doing right now, and I'll almost reach maps, and I think that the sketch that I have right now will be the final version of the build for now until I find out something good. The build clears really nicely. I managed to craft a lot of things, try different things out, try durations, damage over time, chaos, physical damage, and overall I came to the conclusion that this version of the build that I have set in part of the building, I think this is pretty much the optimal version of the build, and I will explain everything in detail. I'll already posted a very complex, detailed thread on Path of Exile forum, so check out the link, guys. It's also available on my website as well, angryroleplayer.com, in the Path of Exile build section. Toxic Rain is very unique, and I specifically wanted to try it out. The original thing about this, I wanted to try Acoustic Carry and see how good is Toxic Rain in the end. But once I got Toxic Rain up and running, I just never looked back, because Toxic Rain was exactly what I needed, and I didn't really need Acoustic Carry anymore. It was just incredibly strong as it is. So take a look at the build, guys. I will guide you through the details that you need for this. Here we go, guys. This is part of building, and we have everything set and ready here. We'll be using Toxic Rain skill for AoE as well as single target. As in the supplement, we'll be using Herald of Agony, the Agony Crawler for another clear and single target shit as well. So we are basically, the Pathfinder is exclusively for this a newly reworked Master Toxicist, because it gives you you lose Virulence 50% slower, and Virulence is what keeps your Agony Crawler up for longer and let him do more damage, and this is very essential, especially for the slow attacking weapons like normal bow or lioness glare, for example. So what about the actual items that we'll be using, guys, in the skill jams? I'll go really quick over the items that you potentially need. For the bows, there are mostly like 3-4 different things that you need. Lioness glare is like a fat, unique physical bow, and Toxic Rain is actually a physical projectile attack with duration and chaos damage. It has 50% of physical converted to chaos damage. It's also a projectile attack, just like normal projectile bow attack. So it scales with the bow damage, and more specifically with the physical damage, and the more damage your bow has, the faster the the stronger it hits, and the faster the pods explosion, and the stronger the pods explosion are. I already explained this in the thread on the Path of Exile forums, but Toxic Rain itself has 3 phases as the skill gem. The first phase is the actual arrow attack, the projectile attack when the arrow hits. It has very low base damage, so it's not worth scaling this part of the skill. Then the second part is damage over time. When the arrow lands, it creates the pod, the toxic pod, that starts providing damage over time around it, and also it debuffs the enemy for lower movement speed. After a second, the pod explodes and does area damage based on the amount of attack damage that you have. That's why the pod explosion can be scaled with the actual damage of your bow, and the higher the damage on your bow, the bigger the explosion of the pods. It is possible to plan around 5 to 6 pods, 5, 6, 7 pods with normal setup and normal bow every second. And with Cool Rain, you can plant about 20 pods every second, like 20, 15, 20 pods every second. And with Dying Sun and everything else, you can plant like 20 easily pods every second. That's about it. So, like I mentioned, scaling the original attack, scaling the original projectile attack is pretty worth it. It's very low base damage. Scaling duration and damage over time, the chaos damage, is worth it, but not entirely, because Caustic Arrow still does so much more fucking damage than this during this second of Toxic Rain. So in the end I gave up trying to scale damage over time, and it's just not worth it, guys, because the damage over time doesn't really do that much during this second and Toxic Rain, because Caustic Arrow just does much more, and Caustic Arrow, this is where you scale the damage over time. And Toxic Rain, it's not really that important. It's good, but it's just not that important. And scaling duration is not really that important as well, because you need to explode pods as fast as possible, because pods explosion is what does the most damage in this build. You need to do a lot of pods, get a lot of flat physical damage, and do retarded amount of pods explosions. Pods actually overlap and kind of grow on each other and explode, chain exploding, and this is basically how you do damage in this build. This is it. So for the items, like I said, 3 options. First of all, is kind of Lineless Glare. This is a fat, big bow which does a lot of flat fizz. Then it's basically Quill Rain and as you can see, when we get Quill Rain, our damage goes down by around 2 times. 2 times. I will show you once again. More than 2 times actually. But the deal with the Quill Rain is our attack rate increases by 2 times. So you do less damage with every attack, but you're attacking 2 times faster. And this faster also applies to things like, for example, Blink Arrow casts faster, 2 times faster. You don't need faster projectiles or attacks with Blink Arrow if you're using Quill Rain. So for Quill Rain, everything is faster. All your attacks are faster. It's incredibly fast. And basically, I think it's one of the best weapons that can be used for the Toxic Rain. You are taking twice less as strong as Linus Glare or any physical bow, but you're just doing it twice faster. And this shit overlaps, and pod explosion, you plant pods 2 times faster. So I think this is pretty much optimal, as you can see. Another thing is basically just any plus 3 bow, and as you can see, it's pretty low shit. But that's why you know, plus levels and damage over time doesn't really do that much, and it doesn't really do much than the actual flat fizz on the explosions and shit. So flat fizz is much more important than the levels that you can get on the bow. Dark Scorn is also not entirely terrible, because it does a lot of fizz. It gets flat fizz damage and attack speed, and converts part of your fizz to the chaos damage. This is very, very nice spawn. This is what I'll be using till I get my Lineless Glare, or maybe until I decide to drop Quill's Rain, but Quill's Rain is fucking OP. For the quiver, this is basically just any, you know, quiver with resistance, damage, and basically additional arrow. But Drill Neck is fucking OP for the damage. This is what we'll be using for the most part of the game, because it adds life, attack speed, and flat fizz to bows, which is pretty fucking insane. And arrows deal increased damage with hits if they pierce, and we will pierce additional target with the Drill Neck. This is good. For the helmet, Starconian's head is pretty much OP, nothing crazy with it. With the enchantment, there are 2 options here. First of all, Herald of Agony has 30% reduced mana reservation. This, if you use Herald of Agony on 6th link, because without this, it's fucking impossible to use Herald of Agony on the 6th link, because you will eventually have like almost no mana. This is also a mandatory option if you want to run Grace, because if you will not be using this, you will simply have no absolute mana for Grace, and this is absolutely impossible if you want to use Herald of Agony 6th link and Grace at the same time. This is mandatory. For both Grace and 6th link Herald of Agony, you will also need this chest called Coming Calamity, and this is the only way how you can get Grace, and you'll have 5% of mana unreserved without Enlighten. This is the only way how you can even get potentially Grace and the 6th link. So this is it. I'll uncheck it. I haven't not using Grace for now, but this is an option. This is an option. So, like I said, for the chest, there are 4 or 5 different options. Common Calamity is crazy for the damage of the Herald because it gives +2 to the levels Herald gems, but it does nothing for us because it has no life, no resist, absolutely nothing as well. But the most important thing is mana reservation of Herald skills is always 45%. This is OP for the 6-link Herald of Anger, because if you stack a lot of skill gems on the Herald of Anger, this becomes a really crazy multiply and go over 100 multiply on the Herald. This is why it's really hard to get this. The only problem with this is it requires 144 intelligence. You can see I have only 120. So potentially you need to craft some intelligence, either have some intelligence on the rings, on the belts, on fucking jewels. You need intelligence somewhere. It's not easy to reach intelligence. The only place where you can get intelligence is practically this, and this is fucking mandatory primal spirit as well. So it's very hard to get intelligence, guys, for this build. So Common Calamity is for Herald of Agony damage, as well as basically a reduced reservation, and using Grace, this is mandatory. Best of the best is how you can get 7,000 life. This is the life option. Then we have Cherubim's Maleficence. This is the damage option. As you can see, the damage goes almost to high 600k, because Cherubim's Maleficence increases life, energy shield, evasion, armor evasion, and an 80% increased chaos damage. This is fucking OP, guys. This is crazy. So this is pretty much retarded for the damage. Another thing that you can potentially use is Lore Weave. Let me add it. Assuming we have some kind of okay-ish Lore Weave. Let's see how much we have with Lore Weave. So for Lore Weave, it's almost the same actually. It's almost the same damage because we got Flat Fizz on Lore Weave. So Lore Weave is like the second best option for instead of the Cherubim's Maleficence. Unfortunately, we have slightly less life, because Lore Weave just doesn't come with so much life. But for the damage, Lore Weave, and for the roll toughness, like maximum resists, are very, very good. The absolute retarded beast option for the life is, of course, Calm's Heart, because it is the only way how you can reach 8,000 life in the build. But at the same time, it makes you very problematical, because you need to use Shaper Helm and put Herald of Agony in your Shaper Helm, or put Herald of Agony in the faster text gloves. So you will have to look for the gloves or for the helm to put Herald of Agony. And even though you will still not have the 6-link, thing that you can potentially do is either have faster attacks, kind of GMP, or slow projectiles GMP gloves, or maybe conk effect minion damage help, but this is very problematical. So comes hard as possible, but just makes problematical to get a maximum out of Herald of Agony. For the gloves, there are many cool options, but Embalmer is fucking OP because it adds chaos damage and gives life and increased poison duration. This is pretty mandatory for the build. Boots are just anything, just life res and life regen. This is pretty good. The amulet is mandatory again. It's in presence with chaos damage, increased damage over time, life, and resist. This is very, very strong. It also gives us 100% reduced despair mana reservation, but this is not needed. Impressions also pairs really nicely with the Cherubim's Maleficence. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, Impressions is pretty mandatory. It's pretty mandatory for the build because it buffs you. The rings are mostly just Flat Fizz, life, and chaos damage. If you can get some kind of chaos damage on the rings, use this. Steel rings are also fucking OP, like this one. Chaos damage, life, resistance. Belt is mostly whatever Stygian wise life resist. The jewel that it will need is potentially the Onslaught on Kill, Life, and some kind of bow attack shit. Fist to bow attacks will be absolutely OP. The only way to get Onslaught on this and or the Flask that it will be using. The Flask's a Dying Sun for extra pods and extra projectile. And any extra projectile will plant an extra pod on the ground, and this is fucking crazy. Which Fire Brew is absolutely mandatory for this build because look how much damage it buffs. It literally fucking doubles the damage. It's crazy. Soulful Flask is another source of damage. This is just damage, and you can get anti-freeze or some anti-shit here. Blood of the Karoo is for the healing. The Serious Promise is actually the source of leech. Look at this. Bam! You get no leech. The Serious Promise. Bam! You get leech. So this is pretty crazy, guys, for the leech. The only problem is if you get Quill Rain, your leech like kind of gets fucking destroyed because it's based on your attack damage. So it will be much harder to leech with the Quill Rain, but at the same time you will be much faster and much more mobile. So I will stick with the Lionel's Glare for now, guys, for the fucking numbers. The jewels are just pretty much just chaos damage over time, life. And if you have strength and intelligence, this is absolutely best. Strength and intelligence is what you will be lacking for the most part. For the armor, for the skill gems and everything else, intelligence and strength, this will be lacking, with intelligence being #1 priority. The poison duration and poison gems are also very strong, like this one for example. We'll be using one spreading rod here as well in this spot, to give us more chaos damage. We'll be using Wild Blight against bosses, and with increased duration it gives us 25% increased chaos damage per spreading rod, which is pretty fucking huge. I haven't found the other spot where I can plant another spreading rod. Unfortunately, there's just not intelligence here, so I'll be using just one spreading rod, guys. For the skills, I've pretty much explained everything on the forums, but this is Toxic Rain, Vicious Projectile, Swift Affliction, Void Manipulation, Damage in Full Life if you wish, and Unbound Elements. Unbound Elements actually does a retarded amount of damage if we stack Poison. If we go the Poison route, Unbound Elements is absolutely fucking retarded, does the most out of everything. We can also drop this, but it will be much lower damage, so Damage in Full Life is pretty mandatory. Herald of Agony 6 link is Herald of Agony minion damage, Vicious Projectiles, Damage in Full Life. He's always in full life because he doesn't even fucking have life. Withering Touch and Empower. Empower greatly increases the power of the Herald of Agony, and assuming if you use the Coming Calamity, this will be absolutely retarded amount of damage that the Herald will use. Another one is basically the classic spell Totem with Wither and increased duration. Another is Wild Blight, custom damage taken in Grace, which I'm not using right now. And the last one is basically just some kind of buffs and debuffs like Blink Arrow, Phase Run, Glow Golems, whatever you want, guys. This is basically utility that you have. So that's pretty much it. The tree is as follows: follow life, then try to get Master Fletcher and Avatar of the Hunt as the first absolutely option. Then try to get these Toxic Strikes and get Poison. This is where you will be using Herald. Start using Herald. Then transition here. You will get Dex, and you will have a bit more life here on the left. This is pretty important. After that, I will potentially go up here and get all of this damage over time. And this is where you need Primal Spirit because it gives 20 strength and intelligence. Without this node, you will not be able to use minion damage blue gem on the Herald of Agony. This is pretty mandatory. After that, you mostly transition here, grab heavy draw, do not get deadly draw first, and then get the acrobatics and transition up and get fatal toxins. After that is mostly climbing up and climbing left to the life wheel. That's about fucking it, guys. The build has a lot of life, as you can see. With the Belly of the Beast, we have over 7,000. With the Lord Width and Calamity, we have over 6,000.5, which is a lot. And I think this is pretty much what I'll be using right now. The only problem with the Lionel's Glare is slow attacks, and this is the main problem. And this is why I'm still undecided will use Cool Rain or will not. This is it, guys. Thanks for watching. This is a sketch build. Like I said, this is just a sketch that I have planned, but it's pretty complex. A lot of time spent on this shit. Thanks for watching and see you soon.